16 San Bruno Planning Commission meeting. Roll call, please.
Chair Biasotti.
Here.
Vice Chair Kayal.
Present.
Commissioner Chase. Commissioner Johnson. Commissioner Mishra. Commissioner Peterson.
Here.
Commissioner Samut.
Here.
Thank you.
Commissioner Smoot, would you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, please?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Item 1, approval of the minutes. We have none to approve.
Move we approve the minutes?
Pardon me?
I'm sorry. Wait.
We have none to approve. Okay. Item 2, communications.
Chair Biasotti, there are no additional communications this evening.
Thank you. Item 3, public comment for items not on the agenda. Is there anyone here this evening wishing to speak to the commission on anything not on the agenda this evening? Okay, seeing none, we'll move on to item 4, conflicts of interest. Anyone? Perry? Nope. Okay. Then we'll move on to item 5, 5A, 1701 Earl Avenue. It's a request for a temporary use permit to allow an off-site construction staging area within the Crestmore neighborhood. Staff report, please.
Thank you and good evening. As indicated, the request before the Planning Commission tonight is for a temporary use permit application to allow the continued use of an off-site construction staging area within the Crestmore neighborhood, which would accommodate the construction of 10 single-family dwellings on 10 pre-existing lots. Subject site is located at 1701 Earl Avenue on the northwest corner of Earl Avenue and Glenview Drive and has been used as an off-site construction staging area for the past year. The San Bruno Municipal Code allows construction staging areas lasting up to 1-year periods with a temporary use permit from the Planning Commission. The site was selected due to its centralized location in relation to the 10 pre-existing lots within the Crestmore neighborhood. I would like to provide a little bit of background, and as the Planning Commission will recall, the city issued a request for proposal seeking qualified home builders for the construction of 10 replacement homes in August of 2013. Eventually, Castle Companies was selected to construct the 10 replacement homes, and since that time, the city entered into a formal development agreement with Castle Companies, which was reviewed by the Planning Commission and formally adopted by the City Council in January of 2015. In March of 2015, the Planning Commission approved an architectural review permit for the construction of 10 replacement homes. The following month, in April of 2015, the Planning Commission approved a temporary use permit request for an off-site construction staging area at the subject site. In terms of the overall construction schedule, construction on 9 of the 10 lots has been ongoing since June of 2015 and is nearing completion. Lot number 10, which is located at 951 Glenview Drive, is currently in the building plan check process. The applicant anticipates that construction activities at lot number 10, 951 Glenview Drive, will begin by the end of May of 2016 with a total construction time of 9 months. Operations associated with the off-site construction staging area would not change with this application. The site currently contains 1 mobile office trailer, 2 storage containers, 1 portable restroom, and a 6-foot-high chain link fence currently surrounds the subject site. The fence is not currently covered, but the applicant indicated that the entire perimeter of the fence will be screened with green fabric, and a condition of approval has been incorporated indicating that as well. I'd like to also point out condition of approval number 5 requires the applicant to maintain the staging area in a clean and orderly fashion, and it further states that the site shall remain free and clear of all weeds, and the applicant recently removed all weeds from the subject site. Staff notified all property owners within the Crestmore neighborhood, and we did not receive any phone calls or emails regarding this proposal. Overall, staff supports the temporary use permit request. We find that would help facilitate the construction of the 10 replacement homes. We would recommend that the Planning Commission approve the temporary use permit application subject to the findings and conditions of approval within the staff report. I'd be happy to answer any questions that you have. Thank you.
Thank you, Matt. Any questions for staff? Nope. Okay. Thank you, Matt.
Thank you.
Is anyone from Castle Company?
Commissioners, good evening. My name is Lou Baldacci. I represent the Castle Companies. First and foremost, I'd like to thank staff for their time in this review, in this application here. And I'd be happy to answer any questions that you have on this application. I have nothing further to add that hasn't already added. However, the staging area has been a great convenience for us. And I think assistance to the neighborhood too allows us for kind of a central operation. As Matt touched on also, we're real close with 9 homes, leaving us with the 10th house that we anticipate to start within the next couple of weeks. So the use of this lot will definitely assist in the building of that lot also. So, thank you very much.
Thank you. Any questions for the applicant?
Yes, through the chair. Do you understand all of the conditions of approval and agree with them?
Yes, we do.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, as staff touched on, we are going to reintroduce the green screening. We had it originally on the fence lines, but as I think Commissioner, the Crestmore area is quite a breezy area. We had a lot of fences and so forth blow down that the neighbors didn't care much for. However, in the staging area, it is a post-driven fence. So we anticipate that screening will stay in place for the duration of our request here.
Thank you.
Commissioner Peterson, any comments?
No, thank you.
Thank you. We'll open up the public hearing on this item. Is there anyone from the public who'd like to speak on this? Anyone? Okay, public comment is closed. We'll move the conversation back to the commission. Anyone for discussion or vote?
I'll do that. All right, through the chair.
Commissioner Smoot.
Sure. I'd like to recommend that the Planning Commission approve temporary use permit 16-001 based on findings of fact 1 through 3 and conditions of approval 1 to 14.
I'll second the motion.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, and I guess there's still a 10-day appeal period on that too. All right, we'll move on to item B. Request for plain unit development, use permit, architectural review permit to allow the construction of a 5-story, up to 69 feet 4 inch high, in conformance with the airport land use and guidelines, 152 room hotel of 3,000 square feet. Staff report, please.
Good evening, Chair Biasotti and Planning Commissioners. I'd like to give a bit of an overview of our presentation tonight and an introduction. First off, this agenda item before you is to consider various planning entitlements to construct a long-envisioned hotel within the crossing development along El Camino Real across from the shops at Tanforan. This proposed site for the hotel comprises the last vacant properties within the 20-acre U.S. Navy site and its environ-specific plan area. This specific plan was approved by the City Council here in San Bruno in 2001, and the intent really was to guide a property that had been used for many, many years by the U.S. Navy as an administration facility. The plan really envisions a mix of uses, both commercial and residential, and within the project area, a hotel was identified as kind of a centerpiece. And that hotel originally was envisioned as being about 500 rooms comprised of also 15,500 square feet of commercial space with meeting rooms and on a 5.5 acre site. Originally, since the approval in 2001, there have been a variety of economic changes within the area and changes in land use within the specific plan area. For example, the El Camino commercial development occurred, and within that is the Jax development, and within that development area is 12,500 square feet of commercial space. As a result of the changes over time, both to the commercial area and also an expansion of residential, the actual site was reduced from 5.5 acres down to 1.52 acres in area. And with that reduction in site area and kind of a reluctance for the market at that time leading up to about 2012 to see a hotel being built on this site, the city stepped in, the city of San Bruno stepped in and actually acquired this property that was 1.52 acres in area with the intent of trying to maintain a high quality hotel with meeting space on the property within the plan area. So the site was acquired in 2012 by the city. The city then put out a request for proposals toward the end of 2012, looking for developers who would be interested in building a hotel on this site. There were 5 proposals received by the city. There was a thorough selection process, and OTO Development was selected as the preferred firm for the city of San Bruno to work with in terms of developing a high-quality hotel with conference room and meeting room space on the site. Over time, the city did amend the specific plan to kind of bring it into conformance with the reduced site area. As I mentioned, it went from 5.5 acres down to 1.52 acres in area, and to really size a hotel that would be consistent with the reduced plan area, site area. And so the specific plan was amended this past year in 2015, and the reduced area results in a hotel up to 152 rooms in total size, about 5 stories in terms of height, with on-site parking and with 3,000 square feet of conference room and meeting space to serve the community. All along since 2001, the city has been very concerned about providing adequate conference room and meeting space to meet the needs of the local San Bruno community. Since the amendment of the specific plan, staff has continued to work with OTO Development, and OTO has put together a development plan that is, we believe, consistent with the amended specific plan in terms of the size of the proposed hotel and also in terms of amenities such as conference room and meeting space. And tonight, Associate Planner Paula Bradley will present our staff report that'll provide more detail to you about the project itself, the entitlements, the planning approvals that will be required to move forward to construct this project, and then highlight some of the conditions of approval that we've put together. That material has been presented to you in your staff report. Following Paula's presentation, the applicant has a presentation, and they'll go into more detail about the actual development plan for the site. They'll also introduce themselves and provide information about operations, how they intend to operate this hotel. At that point, we all would be more than happy to respond to your questions. Of course, you would be taking comments from the public and then discuss the item and then take an action. We've provided a resolution for you. The resolution covers the environmental document and the entitlements that are before you, and so this evening we would be asking you to consider that resolution as part of your action. So with that, that's an overview, and I would appreciate it if Paula could go into a little more detail about the project, and then the applicant will present as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Paula?
Good evening, Planning Commissioners. I'm Paula Bradley, the project planner. This is the application to construct a 152-room Spring Hill Suites select service hotel by Marriott on a 1.5-acre site within the Crossing development located at I-80 and El Camino Real. The entitlements that were required for the project are a plan development permit, an architectural review permit, and a use permit for serving alcoholic beverages, and also a sign program. Legal notices were sent out, and staff has not received any comments on the project. The subject site is approximately 1.5 acres and accessed by Admiral Court within the Crossing development. It's located across El Camino Real from the shops at Tanforan, and the 2 vacant lots were once part of the U.S. Naval Administrative Facility that was demolished in 2002. A portion of the site has been used for a temporary parking area for Jack's Restaurant next door as an overflow parking lot, and the remainder of the lot is currently secured by a fence. The proposed hotel would be 5 stories, approximately 69 feet 4 inches high at the highest point, and 99,022 square feet in size, and it includes a total of 167 parking spaces. The hotel would include 3,000 square feet of meeting space to accommodate up to 300 people for theater-style events, and banquet-style seating for sit-down events up to 200 people. Additionally, it could also have 150 people for sit-down meetings, weddings, and parties, and other special events. A hotel of this size typically would not provide the large area of meeting space, but this 3,000 square feet of meeting space was specifically required of the hotel as an amenity to the city of San Bruno. The building also includes 6,040 square feet of rooftop solar panels, as well as other energy efficiency measures. The hotel is considered a select service hotel. It has limited food and beverage service for hotel guests, and also would provide food for special events through catering. Food service for the hotel guests would include a breakfast buffet and light food choices in the evening at the bar. There wouldn't be any restaurant on site. The applicant's required to obtain a liquor license from the ABC to allow the liquor sales in the hotel bar, the marketplace shop, and then also for the conference space. No bar entertainment is going to be provided other than televisions, although entertainment would be provided for special events associated with the meeting and special event space. Of the 167 parking spaces, 107 would be in a 2-level subterranean garage, and 60 spaces would be on the surface. The parking includes 20 tandem spaces, which would be utilized when there's valet parking for special events. The required parking for the hotel is 1 space per room, 1 for the manager, and 1 space per 100 square feet of meeting room space. The specific plan allows a 15% reduction in parking for shared parking, and so the parking requirement would be 183 spaces, and if you reduce that by 15%, the total required would be 156 spaces. The hotel will provide valet parking for larger events, and the applicant believes with valet parking they could increase parking capacity from 30 to 40%. Employees would have parking inside the parking garage, and then also they would be encouraged to use public transit. Staff required the applicant to submit a transportation demand management plan to reduce parking demand and vehicle trips generated by the project. 2 natural gas shuttle buses would serve travelers from the airport and to local destinations. Bicycle facilities are provided at the hotel for employees, and also showers and changing rooms. Other measures in the TDM plan would include providing employees with a Clipper card to use transit, and information about using alternative transit. With the implementation of a well-managed transportation demand management plan, in addition to meeting the parking requirements and the business traveler focus of the hotel, it's expected that on-site parking would be more than sufficient for the full occupancy and special events. A condition of approval will require that the applicant submit a final transportation demand management plan for staff to review, with more details focused on reducing traffic trips. And monitoring will also be required for the plan to evaluate the effectiveness of the methods that will be required. The proposed height of the building is within the specific plan, which allowed a maximum height of 7 stories, but it's also required to meet the regulatory requirements of the FAA and the airport regulations. The project was required to be referred to the Airport Land Use Commission, which determined that the proposed height would be consistent with the applicable airport land use policies and criterias, with the inclusion of 2 conditions. One of those for sound attenuation, and then also with the execution of an abrogation easement in favor of the city of San Francisco. So both are required as conditions of approval. City worked with the applicant and their architect to ensure the proposed hotel design met the specific plan and then also the crossing design guidelines. And the applicant also worked collaboratively with staff and the city's peer review architect to improve the design. There were quite a few items that have been addressed, including the site plan and building orientation. The specific plan required that the hotel be facing on El Camino Real, but due to the site constraints of the I-80, 380 there, the small site, and the desire to have an entry, appealing entry from Admiral Court, which is the focus. They ended up proposing a V-shaped design, so that the hotel will face toward Admiral Court and also toward El Camino Real. For the overall design, the consulting architect and staff agreed that the hotel design should be more contemporary than the residential designs in the crossing, but should also incorporate some of the residential elements of those structures to blend contextually. Staff pushed for additional architectural details in all of the elevations, including recessed windows. There was French limestone proposed at the base of the hotel, which was expanded to go onto all three sides and on the front facade of the hotel. And also variation in height with cap treatments on all of the roof sections, which were all incorporated into the plans before you. One piece that hasn't been completely resolved is what was proposed on the west elevation. Staff had asked for some options to be presented to the Planning Commission, and a couple of those options were stucco finishes with texture and a design in the panels. And the west elevation is the side that faces the Avalon Bay apartments, so that would be their view. And the applicant will go into more detail with the designs for you, but they proposed metal decorative panels on the west elevation, 2 separate panels that extend from the second floor to above the roof to add more variation in the roof height.
Excuse me, through the chair. Could you speak that last sentence again?
Mm-hmm.
You're speaking a little bit low for me.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, on the west elevation, which is the side facing the Avalon Bay apartments, the applicant has proposed 2 decorative metal panels that would extend from the second floor of the hotel on that side to above the roof, adding some variation in roof height. And the applicant will show you some samples of what type of material could be used for that. The project was reviewed by the ARC at 2 separate meetings, one in November and one in December, and the ARC forwarded the project to the Planning Commission with a recommendation of approval with comments and recommendations. Most of those recommendations have been incorporated in the plans before you, except for looking at that west elevation. If the Planning Commission would like staff to consider further options for the west elevation, staff has provided a condition of approval that could be included. It's in the errata sheet that staff handed out. So if you would consider that, we can include that condition, or if you are satisfied with what's proposed, we would not need to include that condition. After the staff report went out, the applicant requested 2 clarifications and additions. One was to modify the hours for the meeting space in the bar lounge area, which was previously described in the operations statement, The bar hours would be 5 until 9 or 10, and the applicant requested that for the meeting space in particular, that the hours be allowed to go until midnight periodically. That would not be every night. So staff has also recommended a condition included in the errata, providing the details of the hours and operation of the hotel. Another item is the applicant wanted to, stated that the number of employees expected would be 30 to 40, and 75% of those employees would be full-time. Previously, it was stated that it would be 30 employees, 40% full-time, working different shifts throughout the week. Staff believes with the type of business traveler focus for the hotel and the transportation demand management plan that there would be adequate parking. In conclusion, the project would complete the build-out of the crossing and fulfill the vision for a mixed-use, transit-oriented development with a high-quality hotel and a large area of meeting and conference facilities in the specific plan area. The building would provide an attractive visual anchor and gateway into the city along El Camino Real. And the project would also fulfill a key economic development objective of the specific plan by providing a high-quality hotel with meeting and banquet space and generating long-term tax revenues to the city. Staff recommends that the Planning Commission adopt the attached resolution 2016-5, adopting an addendum to the SEIR for the U.S. Navy site and its environs specific plan, EIR, and approve a plan development permit, PDP 15-002, a use permit for the alcohol beverage sales, and then an architectural review permit based on the findings 1 through 15, not 16, and conditions of approval 1 through 188, and a mitigation monitoring and reporting plan for the project. If the Planning Commission would like to add the 2 additional conditions, that the number of conditions would be 190. In the errata, I already mentioned adding a condition about the operation, the hours, and uses, and then a condition for the west elevation to provide additional options for the west elevation. And then also with the addition of the condition with the hours and uses, staff would have to revise finding number 14 to reflect those changes for periodic extended hours. That concludes my presentation. I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Paula. Any questions for staff?
Through the chair.
Commissioner Peterson.
I'm getting a little bit confused with the findings. 1 through the staff report says findings 1 through 16 and the recommendations. In the staff report, it looks like there's 15 findings. Which one is the correct one?
Through the chair, the findings would be 1 through 15.
And then where is finding 13? What is finding 13? Oh, I see. I'm sorry, revised finding 14. Okay. All right, then the other question was, there's a sign program. Is that the approval of the sign program or the requirement for that? Is that part of the architectural review, or where does that fall in the resolution?
The sign, through the chair, the sign program was reviewed by the ARC at the November meeting, but the plans for the sign program are also included with the Planning Commission plan set. if the commission wanted to comment on that.
So the sign program is included in the resolution by the approval of the plan development permit, is that it?
Through the chair, if I could, yes, that's correct, Commissioner Peterson. So in terms of the resolution before you this evening, the plan sets do include the sign program. So as you would take action on the resolution, you would be taking action on the proposed sign program, and then there's a condition of approval that the associate planner has put in your conditions, recommended conditions of approval, that will require that the applicant then put together a final sign package in conformance with these preliminary plans and then be issued a sign permit for installation.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Any other questions for staff?
No, thanks.
Go ahead.
No,
No? Okay.
no, it's
Joe?
just a typo.
Thank you. Okay, thank you, Paul. All right, we'll open up the public part of the hearing, and will the applicant come to the podium and give us a description of your project?
Good evening.
Evening.
We're excited to be here. Been 3 years, but I think it's been, as Paula said, a collaborative and creative process, and we believe we came up with a beautiful hotel for the community with some great amenities. So we're excited to present that to you. My name is Steve Peters. I'm with OTO Development. Commissioners, city staff, residents of San Bruno. We also have some of our senior staff here tonight available for questions. Our construction department and our architect is here, and he's going to also, can you hear me? Is this working? Okay. He's going to give a brief presentation after I go through a couple of items on the company, a little bit about the hotel, and just a little bit of background, and we'll all be glad to answer any questions you might have. So this is a picture, the most recent picture of the hotel, as I was mentioning. Just to orient you, you're probably all familiar with this, but where the site is located at the intersection of 380 and El Camino, right next door to it is Jack's, and then right behind it is the Avalon Bay Apartments. Across El Camino are the shops at Tanforan and BJ's Restaurant. OTO Development, we are a national hotel company. We develop, build, and manage hotels across the country, primarily on the east and west coast. Our four global brand partners are Marriott, Hyatt, Hilton, and Starwood. This particular site is going to be a Marriott Spring Hill Suites. A little background on OTO, we've won the Marriott Partnership Circle Award, which is given to the top 1% of all Marriott franchisees for operations and development. And as was already mentioned, we were selected by the city of San Bruno over 5 other qualified developers. So why San Bruno? It's a great location for a hotel. Great visibility, access to 380, 280, and 101. Proximity to demand generators, to list a few of them, YouTube and Walmart, the airport. We think we're going to overflow from San Francisco. It's much more affordable. You're close to BART and Caltrain as well. Next door to good restaurants, other amenities in the city, shopping, theaters, etc. Great demand. The market ran over 88% in 2015, which is just a perspective. The national hotel market is running in the mid 60% range, so that's very impressive. And we'll be the newest hotel of this style, this upscale hotel in San Bruno for over 25 years. The Spring Hill Suites Hotel by Marriott. The marketing material talks about a hotel for inspiration-seeking upscale travelers who want more than a traditional hotel experience. Basically, what that means is an upscale business class hotel. All the rooms have a sitting area with a desk. They have a refrigerator, a microwave, and a wet bar. Contemporary design. We also have a bar. We're going to have, as Paula said, a cafe, things like paninis and salads and sandwiches and things. We'll have 3,000 square feet of meeting space. Currently, when someone wants to have a upscale meeting or banquet in the community, other than this area, which is great, there's nowhere else really. So they have to leave the community. So this will provide another option for wedding receptions, bar mitzvahs, banquets and parties and that kind of thing. A couple items on the parking. As Paula mentioned, we do feel we have sufficient needs, parking for our needs. We don't believe we're going to impact the local parking. I know that's a concern. When we have an event during the daytime, during the day our hotel is fairly empty. So if we do have an event during the day, we'll have plenty of parking. In the evening, if we are fairly full and we have an event in the evening, we will also use valet parking, or if need be, contract for off-site parking. But we think for the majority of events, based upon our other hotels, it'll be sufficient for our needs most of the time. As well as, as Paula said as well, we have 2 shuttle buses, which is going to cut down on the amount of traffic. Those will primarily take people to the airports, but we can also drop them at Caltrain or at BART as well. And real quickly, just a summary. How did we get here? City came out with an RFP in 2012. We were selected in 2013. Specific plan amendment adopted in 2015, and then City Council, and now the Planning Commission today. And again, although it's been a long process, we do feel like there's been the design, and Jim's going to go through this, has gone through a lot of iterations, which made it much more functional and going to be a better quality experience for the guests. And again, based upon feedback from the Architecture Review Committee and the city and ourselves, we believe this is a very high-quality product. So I'll be glad to answer questions, and Jim Halbrenner is going to give a brief presentation on the design.
Thank you.
Thanks. Hi, Jim Heilbrunner, architect for the project, and it's been a interesting experience back and forth on design. I can say it's been collaborative for sure, a lot of different ideas, and even different designs over the period of the last few years, bringing us to today. So I had a quick history of some of the design ideas that started in really in 13, where we were massing out the site to try to really figure out the best lay of the land on a pretty tough site. It's not squared, it's not a rectangle, they've got a big curve at the corner which impedes on what normally a hotel would do, an I-shaped or an L-shaped configuration. So we had some different ideas in the beginning that were playing on the neighboring building, the apartments, different shapes and sizes of T-shape, U-shape, and what really is very close to what we ended up with, more of a V that breaks up the building into wings, and even in the back breaks the building's mass up that adjoins or faces the apartments where the pool and outdoor areas. So that worked out pretty well. A lot of different ideas in the area for design. Modern architecture never stops evolving, so we've taken up on that. Back to the V shape, more design ideas. And this again, these are spanning over the last 3 years. Back to the V, and as it goes, we start putting a skin on the building of different materials, which now includes some stucco and some, we'll call them porcelain panels that are pre-finished in the factory. Some are blue-ish, some are gray, and we have traditional aluminum window systems that are more white to tie into the color. So it's a lot of different materials going on considering the size of the building, including, as Paul mentioned earlier, stone, which is in the front of the building, which you'll see on a couple of which you saw early on the front. This is the current, again, the V shape. The blue on the roof are the solar collectors. You can see a large landscaping swath in the front. This shows more floor plan on the ground, and this brings us to where we currently are, and we've got samples here, but the main element in the front, the entry, has a canopy at the porte cochere, the drop-off point. I think some of our last design meetings where we kind of brought this to a close on the shape, sort of a curvature to give it some different identity, where it cantilevers out. And we changed the last version. It's more of a curtain wall glass system in the front to give the building sort of a singular geometric look instead of broken by floors where it's more traditional on the other side. So a lot going on, a lot of ins and outs, a lot of plays on light, a lot of shadows going on. For the most part, there's very little window, if any, facing the apartments. The back really has a solid wall. Let me see if I can get that here. So the west elevation, which is the back, has been discussed quite a bit. Basically, these two large elements here face the apartments. These are farther away into the V, if you will. The pool is down here, and along the back, we have a green wall curvature to grow vines between the pool and the driveway area. The solid areas that are blue are stair towers, which have no windows back here. Those are the porcelain blue panels, and we have adjoining stucco. The windows back here actually are in the hallways, so those are corridor windows, not rooms. And then at the last, sort of the last design element to break these walls up, we came up with how do we put something on the building to break that up. So we're proposing using some metal laser cut panels, which can be done in many different ways. I brought some samples. We've been talking to Paula and Dave about what the actual configuration and design is. That can be just about anything that you can carve, and it's done in stainless steel and posted away from the wall so it creates shadows during the day as the sun moves around the building. So without changing the stucco element and adding another material, we decided to put something on the building rather than another balcony or shutters or awning that would give interest and be different looking all day from the neighbor's perspective. So those are the key things. We've had to deal with the height of the building through the airport criteria. So a flat roof is in vogue, which is not foreign from modern architecture, and in fact really need to have it with the solar panels on the roof and some other equipment that's normal to any hotel. So we've met the height limit. We have 5 stories in there. The parking is all on, for the most part, the majority of parking is underground, 2 levels, ramp down, and the parking on grade is screened pretty nicely with a lot of landscaping that'll grow quite quickly in this area. So questions, it's probably the place to go here. Some of you have been involved in the design process. And we're happy with where we are. The conditions of approval are acceptable. We've gone through those in several rounds in detail to scrub through those. We have mitigations from a CEQA point of view, and all is well with everything that we can comply with now. So, here are questions, and show and tell.
Thank you. All right. Is there anyone else from your group that would like to speak? Is there anyone else from your group that wants to speak? Okay. Any questions for the applicant?
One question.
Commissioner Peterson.
I don't know who I'd address, but OTO. I'm trying to understand what you might have done for traffic circulation. For instance, will the primary circulation be from El Camino in and make a left turn down to the hotel and into the parking area?
Excuse me, over here. This is Admiral Court here. So down over in this area is the exit entrance off El Camino. So you'll drive in here, I think it's called Commodore. You make a left on Admiral and you drive straight into the site. And this is where you would pull up in order to stop and register in the hotel. Once you register, you can proceed around the hotel, and there's parking on grade. And then right here is where you go underground. There's 2 levels of underground parking to circulate. You can drive all the way around the site this way. Not that way, this way. So there's circulation all the way around the hotel. And then the back goes this way, back towards Avalon Bay and the National Archives.
So you can go, there's 2-way traffic around the entire hotel?
Yes.
And those are parking lots, the gray portion on the curved area down there.
This is parking in here. There's a little bit in here. There's a couple over in this area. Majority, there's about 60 on grade, and I think 107 underground, 2 stories underground.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Anyone else? Joe? Nope. Okay. Well, then we'll move to public. Is there anyone from the public here that would like to speak on this project? Okay. We'll close public comment and move it back to the commission for comments, votes.
Yeah, through the chair.
Commissioner Smith.
Yeah, I was at both architectural review committee meetings on this. I think the plans have turned out great. Very happy with how everything's shaped up. If nobody has anything else to say or any objections, I'll make a motion. Okay. It's a long motion. The Planning Commission adopt Resolution 2016-05, adopting an addendum to the SEIR for the U.S. Navy site and its environ-specific plan, EIR, and approve a plan development permit, PDP-15-002, a use permit for alcoholic beverage sales, UP-15-006, an architectural review permit, AR-15-002, based on findings 1 through 16 and conditions of approval 1 through 188, and a mitigation monitoring and reporting plan for the property located on Admiral Court, Commodore Drive, Assessor's Parcel Number 020-013-250, 020-013-260, and a portion of an adjacent parcel 020-013-220.
Before you move on, Joe, the findings, I think, was 1 to 15, and the conditions of approval was, with the errata, was 190, 1 through 190. Is that what you wanted to?
Yeah, those get changed in the
Sorry?
report.
No, with the errata that they gave out this evening.
Sorry, I missed where it says. Oh, yeah, okay, I missed that, sorry.
Okay, is that what you intended?
Yeah.
Is that what you, okay, thank you. Of course. Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second, and that's a roll call vote, please.
Chair Biasotti,
Aye.
Vice Chair Kayal,
Aye.
Commissioner Peterson,
Aye.
Commissioner Chase,
Aye.
Commissioner Semud.
Aye.
Thank you.
Okay, the motion has been approved, and there's a 10-day appeal period. Congratulations and thank you.
Thank you.
All right, item 6, city staff discussion.
We have no additional items tonight for discussion.
Very good. Any planning commission discussion?
Do we need to pick ARC review?
I think we took care of ARC review at our last meeting.
Oh, that's right. I apologize. Yes, that's correct.
I have a question for staff.
Please, Commissioner Peterson.
Does the developer of the property at San Mateo Avenue and El Camino have an estimated beginning of resuming construction?
I'll give you an update on that project. We actually met with the Plaza representatives today, and we're continuing to work with them on their shoring and dewatering plan. And at this point, the extension that the Planning Commission granted to that project extends through June 25th. And looking at where we are right now in terms of the additional work needed to pull a building permit to go vertical for the building itself, I'm anticipating that the applicant is going to need to come back to the Planning Commission and request a further extension. And I'm anticipating that they will come back to the Commission tentatively on May 19th. And as you may recall, they had the right, really, to request a one-year extension. And we actually encouraged and recommended to the Planning Commission that it be only a 6-month extension to really try to motivate, incentivize the applicant to move forward with the project in a shorter period of time. It has taken longer than we expected, than they expected, to address the shoring and dewatering. They have now submitted a plan for that aspect of the work. It's in plan check, it's in plan review. We talked about that at length today. And so I do expect that they'll come back and request that extension probably at the May 19th meeting. And then Commissioner Peterson, to be more direct in response to your question, the next step really would be to work with them on their building permit to, I'll say, go vertical with the garage, the building itself. We have worked through all the details on the architecture of the building at this point. And so I would certainly hope that in, let's say, late June or July, that they would be in for a building permit, and we would be able to issue a building permit to go vertical this summer. The way the vesting is interpreted by staff, it's not simply coming in and pulling a building permit. It's pulling a building permit and doing substantial work in reliance on that building permit. We don't want to issue a building permit and then have somebody just walk away from the project. We want to see them pull the building permit and do substantial work. So in order to complete work with them, issue the permit, and see substantial work done, and what is substantial? But I would expect that at a minimum that they would put in their garage, or at least a major portion of their garage, and really show a commitment to vertical construction in that way. And I wouldn't expect for the permit and substantial construction to occur until probably late summer, possibly early fall is kind of where we are at this point.
So they might start construction in July?
That is possible, yes. Yes.
So are they thinking of selling their position to someone else?
No, not at all. I haven't heard that at all. I've not heard that at all. I think that the shoring and dewatering, there were various options that they were looking at in terms of how to do that. The way they're proposing to do it is to actually put what we refer to as tiebacks into the public right-of-way to provide support for the foundation walls that would be for their garage. They're anticipating going down at least 22 feet, and they have a fairly high groundwater table at that location. So it's going to be important as they create the area for their subterranean garage that they do it in a way that they can secure those walls. So the tiebacks would actually extend out from the site into the public right-of-way. At this point, we're looking at approximately 77, 78 tiebacks extending out from the property to kind of hold in place the retaining walls, I'll call them retaining walls, foundation walls, for the garage as they basically shore up the interior of the garage for the subterranean parking facility. I think we've got that figured out at this point. We had a very successful meeting today. That shoring dewatering plan is in plan review right now, and I would expect at this point that Commissioner Peterson, as you indicated, hopefully by July we issue a permit and see construction begin thereafter.
I guess I was surprised to hear this when they had the entire fall and winter to come up with a excavation and dewatering plan. Most contractors like to try to get some good underground work going in April or May at the latest, so they can take advantage of the construction season. That's why I'm surprised to hear the delay.
You know, I should clarify that the permit to go vertical, the permit for the garage itself and to go vertical, I would expect that would be probably in July, and then they would pursue construction after that. We are working with them right now on their shoring dewatering plan. So hopefully, hopefully by end of May, we can issue them that shoring dewatering permit so they can begin that aspect and then move into pulling their building permit and going vertical sometime in July. So the shoring dewatering should occur first. That would be the next step in the process.
So they still might make May.
For shoring and dewatering, yes. May, June.
pretty important.
May, June, yeah.
Okay,
Agreed.
thank you very much.
You're
Sorry,
welcome.
I just know too much about construction, so I'm surprised when the weather was far less rain than was forecast. I would have thought they'd be ready to go earlier. Yeah, thank you.
You're welcome.
Appreciate it.
You're very welcome.
Any other discussion? All right, with that, we'll adjourn until May 17th. We're done.